warship, the Moskva. I'm joined by John Blaxland, who's Professor of International Security and Intelligence Studies at the Australian National University in Canberra. Professor Blaxland, thank you very much for joining us. Ukraine says its missiles sunk the ship. Russia says it was an explosion on board. How are you viewing what's happened?
I'm seeing this as a hugely embarrassing moment for Russia. The demonstration, it appears, of the Neptune missile system, an indigenously developed, but looks like a bit of a takeoff of other missile systems, anti-ship cruise missiles that are designed to do exactly this. What it points to also is the fact that Russia cannot act with impunity in the Black Sea. It needs to be much more careful, and there's a really important signal here about the defence of Odessa. Odessa has been a city, the far western end of the coast, on the south coast, some distance from Crimea. It's been an apparent target for the Russian advance for some time to block off the southern port access for Ukraine. It's a critical port for access to the economic lifeline of the country. Being able to export goods through Odessa is critical. The threat of an amphibious lodgement in and around there has been palpable for weeks now. This demonstration of the Neptune missile capability suggests that the Russians will now have to really back off that. At the best of times, an amphibious operation is fraught with danger. We think of Okinawa in the Second World War. When you go against an entrenched opposition, you face the prospect of grave casualties. Amphibious lodgements like that against a city like Odessa now become prohibitively expensive in terms of military capabilities for Russia. So that must be a big morale boost for the Ukrainians.
So you are seeing this very much as a Ukrainian success in the war, that you don't think this was something that was self-inflicted by Russia, some fire in an ammunition store?
So there's no question that that will be the line Russia will be pushing, because they will be wanting to play down the capabilities of Ukraine. They're trying to, in many ways, denigrate Ukraine as being beneath them, contemptible. And of course, that's becoming increasingly difficult line to sustain. And it's highly implausible that this is just an explosion on board. It can't be completely ruled out, of course, but the evidence is yet to come in to corroborate exactly what's happened. It does seem, though, that is pretty strongly the case that this is Neptune's work.
And we believe that those Neptune missiles were fired from the port of Odessa. You've talked about the military effect that this could have for Russia. What about the morale that will suffer as a result of this big symbol of Russian pride and military might, named Moscow, being taken out?
Yes, so this is being spun rhetorically on Russian TV as being a huge insult to Russia and evoking an emotional response. So I'm not sure that this will have quite the negative emotional effect that we want. Essentially, this may well, and certainly it appears Putin's supporters are pushing this line that this is a call for vengeance. They're now saying we need to stop calling it a special military operation. We need to now face a war. And there's of course, the rhetoric being used now of absolute weapons of mass destruction. And here we're talking essentially the prospects of tactical nuclear weapons. And that is a grave prospect. It's one that no country has crossed since a threshold. No country has crossed since 1945. It still remains an outlier scenario. There are other options that the Russians still have to, pursue their war aims, which obviously have been modified since the blunting of their offensives in the last few weeks, and that looks to be set to be much more about Donbass, the Donetsk, Luhansk area east of the Dnieper River, and an attempt to consolidate their gains there as best as possible.
Professor,
but, the problem is we don't know what the future holds and what's between Vladimir Putin's ears.
Indeed. Professor, thank you very much. We are out of time. Professor John Blaxland joining us from Canberra in Australia. Now, the Ukrainian president